Will she support that initiative and effort in Scotland? And if it shows that it can work to help redistribute some of this money, will she follow that example?
Hear, hear.
Minister.
I thank you for his question and his raising of what the SNP is doing. I was of the understanding that they were cutting quite a substantial amount of money from the arts budget, and we have been supporting, let's say, some things like the Edinburgh grassroots hub. But I think there is a lot of appetite in this place for this solution. And I think the best thing is for industry to get together. We are supporting those discussions. And I've been, before I went on leave, I was talking to Mark David of the Music Venue Trust on this issue.
Deidre Brock.
Mr. Speaker, I have a suggestion for the Minister. I met with several film, TV and advertising companies from my constituency recently. They pointed out Malta and Mauritius have a 40% rebate, which also covers commercials. Ireland will be following suit with a 40% rebate on reality TV and game shows. These are the bread and butter products of the industry and have a huge impact on local areas where filming takes place. The UK is falling behind in this area. Can she tell me what discussion she's having with Treasury and other colleagues on this matter?
I can assure the honourable member that I have regular discussions with the Treasury and with the industry about how we can continue to support this vital sector. I should say that we are not falling behind. We are world leading. We need to maintain that competitive edge, but our screen sector tax reliefs are estimated to have delivered over 200,000 new jobs and more than £13 billion in economic output.
Patrick Grady.
Mr. Speaker, well, Glasgow North is home to many talented musicians, some of whom play in Scotland's world-class orchestras. But the Association of British Orchestras has warned that the removal of tax credits for performances in the European Economic Area is a direct result of Brexit, and it could make touring in Europe for orchestras unviable. So what is the Minister's message to my constituents whose ability to tour in Europe is being sacrificed on the altar of Brexit fundamentalism?
Minister.
Well, unlike the SNP, we actually listen to what people say at referenda, so I'm afraid we're not going to be rejoining the EU, and that will therefore mean that we cannot have special tax privileges on that basis. But DCMS is aware of the concerns of the touring orchestras. We are facilitating discussions with HMRC so they know precisely where they stand on some of the issues that they have raised on this matter.
John Nicolson.
Thank you. As an ex-BBC reporter, I'm in awe of my former colleagues' bravery and impartiality when they cover world affairs. We've all followed with horror the Israeli bombardment of Gaza, and Reporters Without Borders say it appears that Israel is now directly targeting journalists. The Al Jazeera bureau chief has had 3 children killed, including his journalist son. What unimaginable pain. Another Palestinian journalist, Ayad Kadora, said this: "When will this war end? Who will tell the world what we went through and what we saw?" I bring her question to the House, Mr. Speaker, as she's no longer alive to do so. Can the Secretary of State share with journalists across the world how the government's refusal to call for a ceasefire is advancing the cause of journalistic freedom or peace in the region? And can she tell us who the government's position has persuaded, apart from the Labour front bench, which remains limpid close to the Tory position on Gaza, as in so many other issues?
It's a long way for impartiality of the BBC. Minister, if you can pick up on that, we've got to watch that we do stick to the... There is a question that we should stick to. If you wanted to do something, I would suggest topicals would have been a much better way in which to place it. Minister, can you pick the part out that you need to?
Thank you. I simply wish to pay tribute to every journalist that puts their lives at line to bring truth to the public attention. They play an incredibly important role. We are proud particularly of what the BBC journalists do. They've done some awesome things also in Ukraine. And as the government, we just want to say we support what that work is, and we pay tribute to them.
Mr. Speaker, as the Secretary of State will be aware, charities are facing an extremely challenging fundraising environment, at the same time trying to respond to increased demands due to the cost of living crisis. Will she explain why the government continues to impose sales restrictions on charity lottery fundraising, the removal of which would not cost the Treasury a single penny, but would ensure much-needed additional funds for charitable causes, which would hugely benefit communities in my constituency of North Ayrshire and Arran and across the whole UK.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as probably one of the few members of this House who actually set up a charities lottery, I understand the importance of them. It is right to say that we actually did do a significant review not so long ago. I know that she's probably referring to one particular lottery, and I have written to them with suggestions, having consulted with the Gambling Commission, of ways they may be able to expand within the current remit. But as a department, we are extremely busy at the moment dealing with the Gambling White Paper. That has to take our priority. Once we've done those, we'll consider what further work may need to be done in terms of society lotteries.
Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This year in Scotland, we're going to have the chance to see the Scottish football team on terrestrial television. It's a rare opportunity, not just because we've qualified, but because Scottish football, like other sports, is becoming increasingly difficult to view because it's increasingly behind a paywall. I believe that is damaging its attraction to young people who want to see it. So can the Minister tell us what discussions are taking place to try to alleviate this problem?
Minister.
I'm glad that people in Scotland will be able to watch their national team. I do believe that the current list that we have does work well. It is important that we strike the right balance here, because what we have to ensure is that the sport right holders use the income that they get to benefit the whole of that sporting environment. It's something we constantly will look at, but I do think at the moment we've got the right balances in place.
Kirsten Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Performers in the UK are having their images, voices or likenesses reproduced by others using AI technology without their consent. The Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1988, which regulates performers' intellectual property, does not account for AI. So when will this government act to protect the rights of artists, performers and other creatives in the UK? Or are they content to see this continued exploitation and violation of their intellectual property rights?
The honourable member will know that in the UK we have world-leading protections for copyright and intellectual property, and we want to make sure that as we go to this new technological age with generative AI, we continue to protect creative works. And I want to assure the honourable member we are working very closely with the industry and with the IPO to ensure that we get the best protections that we can. And I know that an update on the IPO's work will be published shortly.